Okay. Okay, I guess I am live. Anybody here? I know it takes Facebook a few minutes to get everybody online or coordinated, I guess. Debbie, hi Debbie. Hi Kim. Carol, you guys are rolling in. Good, good, good. Can you all hear me okay? You can give me a thumbs up or whatever. Hi Kathy. Hello Jennifer. Okay. All right. Okay. Can you hear me okay? Oh, hi Donna. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, I never know. So, and I have an exhaust fan going on and a other fan that's blowing in here, so it's kind of noisy. And of course, I can't have my volume on here, or I'd get that echo sound. So, so I have to depend on you guys to be my ears. Okay, well, today we're gonna talk about enameling, applying decals to enamel pieces. So I don't know if all of you have enameled in the past, but this is just one more technique that you can add to your enameling repertoire. And it's a lot of fun. You can buy the decals already made. There's only a few places that I've found so far on online that you can get them. There might be more places, but I'm not aware of them. And as always, I will give you a handout at the end, and I have the references listed on there of where you can buy them. I know of one for sure on Etsy, and one has its own website. So, or you can make your own, and that's a whole nother can of worms. But I mean, it's fun, but you have to have certain things to do it. So more people are coming in. Hey Janet, hi Diane. Glad you guys could join me. I guess I'll start off with showing you some of the pieces that I've done. I'll tip the camera down here a little bit. And they're probably, well, they're sliding around a little bit. These are primarily pieces that I made with rubber stamps. So I made my own decals on this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So these three were purchased. I have a lot more that I've done with purchased decals, but I just didn't have them handy to show you. So there's a lot you can do with them. They're very versatile. You can also enamel on copper bead. I mean, not enamel. Well, yes, you can enamel on copper beads, but you can add decals, small decals, or portions of decals on enameled copper beads, which is pretty cool. Like you could enamel a word on there, and that's like a whole nother process. But it's actually easy and kind of fun to do. It's just another thing. So these are just a few of the representations of what can be done. Plus, they sell color enamels, or not color. Enamels is going to just stick in my brain, I guess. They sell color decals too, like these bees. They have a variety of color decals. And I'm kind of on the fence with some of them. Some I've had good success with, and some I have not. So I don't know if it's just operator error, or if maybe they just don't do that well torch firing. I don't know for sure. But this little guy has a little Santa hat on him, and the red turned out. It came out okay. But there are some, and I guess, of course, I don't have them right with me, but I'll grab them before this demo is over to show you a couple of examples of what I did not have success with, so you don't, well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy them, but just to be aware that you may have problems with them. Because none of this stuff is cheap, you know that. None of the stuff we do is cheap, but a good thing is that a lot of the tools that we have can kind of carry over to another technique too. So, so that's kind of cool. All right, so the first thing that you will need to do is have some copper blanks, some shapes, you know, squares, rectangles, circles, really basically to fit whatever type of decal you want to use. I'll show you some of the homemade ones that I have, that I stamped out. These are all from rubber stamps, and you know, so say if you wanted to do this sunflower, you need to have a shape big enough to fit that entire sunflower. Although you could cut a portion of it too. That's always kind of fun when you use just little parts or pieces of other ones, of decals. So that's fun. And you can also use your acrylic enamels with these too. So there's lots of fun things that you can do. These this other this little B series, this one has kind of a yellowish background, and it really doesn't fire quite the same, but it's still good. You can see the color contrast in there. So there are lots of choices. Plus, you can do, now these are decals from painting with fire, and they also have a script page that you can buy. They have a lot more. At first they didn't have too many choices, but now they have a nice variety. That's painting with fire. They are on Etsy, and anyway, these are some of their decals. And this is a sheet that I bought from Expression Decals. Expression Decals is going to be in the handout, as is Painting with Fire. And then there's another one, let me see, I've only bought from them a few times, Milestone Decal Art. But you don't have to write this down right now because it will be in the handout. So lots of choices. All right, so for the beginning, put this where I don't catch it on fire later. Okay, so for the beginning, we need to just have some copper shapes, and it's not much you have to do to them. You just have to make sure that that they are filed, that they don't have any sharp edges. If you're working with squares, I would recommend that you round the edges a little bit. You can fire them without rounding them, but I think it's a nicer look. Once they're enameled, you get rid of any sharp corners. And I don't know, I can't say that it's prone to crack, but I just think it looks better when they're rounded. So you could just file the corners a little bit rounded, okay? So then you just make sure that they're not sharp, They don't have to be clean. Like this one's got some Sharpie marker on it. That's okay. They can go just fine with marker on it, or any type of, oh, I don't know, just even if it has finger oil on it, it's okay, or oxidation, it's fine. The fire will burn all of that off. Now you have to understand that I just do the, what I'm demoing is the immersion method of torch-fired enamels, okay, which is different than if you're using a tripod and placing your piece on top of the tripod on a trivet and then having the heat come from below. This is where I dip. I get this piece, punch a hole in it, put a mandrel in it, and heat it up on a torch, and then dip it into the enamel and immerse it in the enamel powder and cover it, and then torch fire it again. So it's a little bit different in case you haven't done this before. A few of my previous demos do show that, and I'm going to be enameling these too. So if you haven't caught those demos, you will be able to see what I am talking about. Okay, so I'm gonna put a hole in it. The round ones, you don't really have to go crazy lining it up to be straight, because it can be anywhere because it's round where you can put the hole. Okay, so it hangs evenly, all right? So I'm using the larger hole of my 2-hole punch, which is, I believe is a 3/32. And I'm using the larger hole because the enamel can fill in those holes, and it'll make it harder for you to put your jump ring in there. Smaller hole, you have a bigger challenge. All right, so I've punched my hole in there. I'll do one in the square, and I pretty much eyeball all my hole positioning, unless I'm working with silver. Then I'm very, very careful. But I'm usually pretty much spot on with those holes. All right, so just making the holes here. Thanks for answering that, Jennifer. Yeah, all the files, all the handouts are in the file section in our group page under files, and all the demos, all the videos you can always find under the media tab. And then when you click on media, then it gives you the choice of photos or videos, and click on videos, and all the demos are listed on there. Oh, did you hear him sneeze? You got blessed, Al. Someone said God bless you, or bless you. Anyway, I was trying to ignore that, but I guess you heard it. Anyway, yeah, so I think, depending on what device you're viewing this stuff on, it can be different. But on my laptop, on the group page, in the menu bar, it says media. Yours might say videos. So just, if you're having trouble finding it, just kind of look around, because all of the videos are on there. And unfortunately, on the thumbnails of the videos, it doesn't allow for the name of the video until you click on it, and then you find out what it is I'm demoing. So it can kind of be a little bit of a challenge to find them, but I assure you they are all there. Okay. Okay. So yeah, if there's a little bit of copper edge that's sticking up by the hole, you can file that off too, just to get it all prepared. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to the torch, and I will show you. I will fire a few of these up, and slide over here, readjust the camera hopefully. All right. So, in case you haven't seen any of my other torch firing demos, this is the hothead torch head right here, and a can or canister of propane gas that you can buy at the hardware store. Propane is about $3 a canister. You can use MAP gas if you wanted. Those come in a yellow can, but that's about $10 a bottle. So for this, it really doesn't make any difference. So why use the more expensive one? You also need a container for water for your mandrel. This is your mandrel. I'm using a 3/32 mandrel. At least that's what I think I'm using. Pretty sure that's it. And I have a heat-proof surface on the table. And I have my enamels that I'm going to use. I keep them on my left-hand side because I am right-handed. So I'm going to work with my mandrel on my right hand, enamels on my left hand. I have a bead pulling station located right over here, which helps me take the piece off of the mandrel when it's hot. It is not absolutely essential for what we're doing here, but if you're working with beads, enameling beads, oops, I knew I was going to knock that off. If you're enameling beads, you definitely need that to pull your beads off. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to see if I'm lined up here. It's going to be loud. The torch is loud. I can't get away from that noise. It will sound very strange. When I've played these demos back, just to hear the sound quality, it's a very strange sound. It sounds like the gas is gurgling. It sounds like it's underwater almost. It changes. I don't know why, but it's only for a short while. So I will try to talk above it, but if you can't hear me, I will discuss what I did when I'm done. Okay, so I have some matches to light my torch. I have a pair of utility long nose pliers. I use them for a lot of things, but especially if you drop your piece, it's good to have something like this handy in case you drop it and you need to pick it up real quick before you burn your floor, or your table or whatever. But that doesn't generally happen, but you should always be prepared in case it did happen. And also I use it to help remove some of the flat pieces too, which you'll see me do. That may be considered a no-no in the safety world, but it's just one of the ways that I do stuff. So, all right, so I'm going to light my torch. When I put the match on here, I'm going to go to the lower rim of the torch head. I'm not going to go above or in the middle of the torch head because the gas is coming out from there. So if you put it in front of it, it's just going to blow your match out. So you need to put it down at the lower lip of your torch head. Red hot. piece has moved back on my mandrel a little bit too much, so I'm going to scoot it forward with the bead pulling station. And reposition that a little bit. Now I'm burning off the extra enamel that's on here, and then quench the mandrel. That first coat is very important to get even coverage on the whole piece. You can look at it in the front to see if you've got good coverage. The piece generally will stick to the mandrel, so you're pretty safe to turn it around and then put it back in the fire. That looks pretty good. So I'm just heating the piece up where the mandrel and the piece touch to get it off of my mandrel. I'm going to take this other piece off the way I do it a lot of times with my pliers. I'm just twirling the mandrel down, so I'm bringing the piece down. I want to bring it to a part where it doesn't stick very carefully so it doesn't slide down and hit your hand. And then I'm going to take my pliers and then tap it on my heat proof surface. And there it goes down on the table. Burn off the excess enamel and quench that. Okay. All right. Those two pieces are cool. And I'm going to check for any messages or questions. Just move on over. Okay. All right. Okay, no questions. All right. Okay. All right, so we're going to get prepared here now for the decal part. Because once you have your pieces fired, am I using 24 gauge? And I am. And hello there. I am using 24 gauge on this. Most of the time you can get by with 24 gauge with enameling. Sometimes I use 22, but you really don't need thicker than that because you're going to be putting multiple layers on the enamel, on the copper, and the piece can get quite heavy. So you know, 22, 24 I think is just fine. Anything higher than that, you know, is, you know, like 26, I think that's maybe a little bit too thin. But if you go with 22 or 24, that's good. Okay, so here are the pieces. Oh, this thing. This is all operator error. Sorry. Okay. So these are the pieces that I just did. And I did a couple in cream and one in foundation white. It's a very nice white. It's a very white white. Does pretty good coverage. Okay, so then you will need a squeegee. I believe you could probably use an old credit card or gift card too. It probably doesn't really matter that much, just as long as you take care when you use it. Sunny, would it be okay to use textured copper? Yes. It will, in this type of thing, it will cover it up. I actually tried a piece yesterday that I had put through the rolling mill and it wasn't a very good impression. And I thought, great, now what am I, you know, I just wasted a piece of copper, but I enameled over it and you can't tell one bit that there was any texture on it. So this is a little different than what Francesca was doing in her group. She was using a liquid enamel over textured metal, and that was just a different application. So hopefully that won't be too confusing for you. So when you torch fire, the back generally gets some kind of fire stain or scale, or not scale, but it's like it gets kind of burned a little bit, I guess. Sometimes that can work to your advantage, but it's on the back, so it really doesn't matter. That's why we always put the front forward in front, so the flame is on the back side of the piece. Okay. All right, so there's that. Now, some of the purchased decals have borders around them, but the ones that if you make your own, they don't necessarily, other than the border of the picture, but see, like on this, it's just a word. There's no place to cut, no line that you can cut from. So what I will use is a circle template. You could use any kind of shape, whatever corresponds with the blank that you're using. So in this case, I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a Home Sweet Home, and I'm going to put it on the cream background. And another thing is when you are putting decals on pieces, it would be best to choose pale colors, pale background colors, because even though these pictures appear to be black, they will turn sepia color once they are fired. So it changes the look. You know, I like the sepia look, but you know, if you put this on a bright blue background or something, you may not see the image as well as when you can see it on a pale background. So just keep that in mind too. That's not to stop you from experimenting if you want to, but it does help to know that. Okay, so for this Home Sweet Home, since it doesn't have a border, I'm just going to use a template based on the size of my disc that I'm using. And okay, so that 5/16, I'm going to just put that down on my enamel. Where's my Sharpie? Here it is. I hope you can't hear his, okay. My husband's working in his workshop, which is next to mine, so I'm stifling his creativity right now with him having to be quiet. All right, so I'm just going to cut that out, and then I'm going to cut on the inside of that line. You can actually cut very close to the letters if you wanted to. So maybe in this regard, or in this situation right here, it probably doesn't matter if you use a template, because actually you could just cut right next to the letters. But if you're doing a design that has more of a border, you'll probably want to have more of, well, I don't know. I really hadn't thought about that, but you're not going to see this clear background when it's fired on your piece. So, okay, so that's that one. And I am going to do another one of these little Christmas birds or holiday birds, whatever you want to call them. Now this I guess I could just put the piece on the decal. I can do that. And just draw that on there. Try to eyeball it as best I can. Trace around. Now this decal paper is special paper. And you, well, if you're going to make your own, you have to buy the special decal paper, which isn't always easy to find either, but it is obtainable. But you need a special printer too, so it's not that easy to do. I mean, you can't do it if you don't have the correct printer and the right printer paper. So just know that ahead of time. That's why buying them first, you know, seeing if it's a technique that you really like to do and pursue. If you have lots of rubber stamps that you could make your designs with, or if you can draw, if you're an artist, you have talent drawing, you can make your own. Zentangles are pretty cool to do as decals too. Hi Diane. Hey Gina. Did I make my own decals by stamping out the designs, then printing them on decal paper using proper printer? Yes, I did. Yeah, that's just what I was starting to talk about. So, yeah, it's all doable, but, you know, you get into requiring more things. You know, it's, this is a craft that never ends in spending money. It just doesn't. There's always something else we need. All right, let's do one other one here. Let's do a bee. I think that would be nice. Will he fit? Well, he'll just make it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to trim around this bee a little bit. You need nice, sharp, pointy scissors for this, cutting your decals. Yes, Kim, it is water slide paper for firing. It's not the water slide paper that you would use for on resin projects. It's totally different paper. So just be aware of that. They are completely different. If you use that other water slide paper that's meant to just, you know, put on resin and you try to fire it, you're just going to burn it up. Okay, so I've got 3 decals and I've got 3 copper shapes. I have a bowl of warm water. I had put it on a hot plate. You don't have to have a hot plate. If you have hot water nearby, you can just use hot tap water. That's all you need. Okay. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do the Home Sweet Home. And I'm going to put the piece and the decal in the warm water, just for a minute. Take the piece out. Take the decal out. Now, if you can watch my fingers, hopefully you can see, this decal just slides off of the paper, okay? And I'm going to put it on and then it's pretty wet, so I just kind of very gently dab the excess water off. You can reposition these for a short while if you found that you didn't have it centered quite right. You can just slide it very carefully over, and then you get your squeegee, and I hold on to a little portion of the decal and kind of start from the center and go out. And the purpose of this is to get any trapped water under the decal or any air bubbles under the decal. because if you get bubbles under there, what happens to your decal is that it gets little pit marks in the color of the design or the words, whatever's on there. It'll be just little pinholes of that disturbs your design. So you don't want that. You want that to be on nice and smooth. So it's good. It's going to dry. Now I turned off my cup warmer, and I'm just going to set it on the cup warmer for a few minutes. If you leave your piece on the cup warmer too long, it starts to melt your decal. Ask me how I know. It happens. So it did. Actually, I did that yesterday when I was doing some practice pieces, because I haven't done decals in quite a while. So I usually try to do these things before I present them to make sure that I still remember what I'm doing. And I just left the hot plate on and went about my business, and I came back and it looked like the print was kind of bubbly, and I fired it afterwards, and it still fired fine, but I think it's probably a good idea if you just leave it on there just for a few minutes, just to warm it up, just to dry it up. But I'll show you something else too, how you can dry it another way too. Okay, so now I'm going to put the other piece in water and the decal. Doesn't take long, just enough to warm up the metal a little bit and make the decal slippery and slide off of the paper. Okay, so just don't leave your decal in there so long that it detaches, comes off of the paper and is floating around. Then you won't know which side is up, and which side is supposed to be pressed down. So boy, he just makes it. Okay, and kind of want to straighten him out so he's kind of even with the hanging hole. And start from the middle and push outwards, squeegee outwards. Be careful not to lift the decal with your finger that you're holding down. You just need a little care when you're doing this. All right, and then he's on my hot plate, okay? Which is really not all that hot right now. All right, so then I'm going to do the larger one. Kim, when you have stuff printed, you have to make sure that their printer is the proper kind of printer. It has to have a certain amount of copper oxides in the printing powder or whatever, like in the, and I'll go over that when I'm done, but you have to have a specific type of laser jet printer so that the ink is correct and that it'll work. But I will talk about that in a few minutes. So yeah, I mean, that would be the easiest thing. What do you ask them? They won't know what you're talking about. We'll talk about that in just a bit, okay? Because I did try that already. I've tried that several places. Nobody knew what I meant. Somebody said it would work, and I had them do a sheet, and it didn't work. They still burned. So The only other, well, no, let me think about that, but we'll talk about that in a bit. All right. So squeegee. I had just a little bit hanging over the edge and just snip that off carefully. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so. Okay. I think what I've been thinking the last couple of days is I'm thinking that maybe after the first of the year, maybe I will do a class, an actual class, not a demo, on enameling and some of the different techniques, and go into more in depth with stuff. I think that it would be pretty beneficial for those of you who are interested in this type of technique. I mean, I would cover several different techniques, not just decals, but you know, the whole guts of everything, so that you get all the proper information. The only thing is, I'm thinking that it would be more of a class where you watch and not really participate, but gather all the information that you need through all the different steps that I do. So I'm just thinking that that might be a useful type of class, but I have to think on it more and decide exactly how I would do it, because unless you have all the materials to do this, you really couldn't participate in the class, but you could take it as a lecture or something like that, I guess. I don't know. I guess it'll depend on everybody's feedback to what I'm saying here, because there's just so much more to this. And it's lots of fun. It's lots of fun. But, you know, you have to decide whether it is something that you want to make that investment in because of the printer. Although my printer wasn't very much money. It was maybe $150, but I bought that eons ago. So I don't know if you can find the same comparable things. I would have to research that. You know, everything is, Nancy, everything is slow right now. All of the services, the delivering services are slow. They are overwhelmed. A lot of it has to do with COVID. There's a lot of people taking off sick from these places, and a lot of people are mailing more because they can't go out or shouldn't go out. So it really it complicates things right now. So that's why I'm thinking, you know, after the end of the year is over, holidays have calmed down, mail's back to normal, you know, maybe do something then. So yeah, Janet, that's a possibility. You know, I just have to kind of, you know, put it together, kind of what I want to do and what you want to learn. So we can go from there. Okay, so now these pieces have dried for a few minutes, and you have a little piece of decal that's covering the hole, and we want to poke through that because We don't want to tear the enamel or the decal. So I'm just going to carefully pop a little hole with my awl from the front so it doesn't dislodge the decal. I did move a tiny bit, in truth. All right. Oh, this one doesn't have it because the B was cut right around. And this one, just pop through there. You could pop through with your mandrel too, really. But the fine point of this is probably preferred. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fire these now. And what I'm going to do is reintroduce them to the torch flame from putting them high out into the heat of the flame, but not into the direct flame, just in the heat. It's just generally going to warm that piece up. We do that because you don't want to shock the enamel where things could pop off, pieces could pop off. If you just crack your enamel, that's usually not a bad thing because by bringing it back into the fire, it kind of heals itself. Okay, so that's kind of a neat thing. But we want to take it gradually with the decals and just warm everything up and then bring it into the flame. It's going to stay in the flame. You're going to see your piece turn a bright orange glow, which it should. And also, when it starts to glow like that, you're going to see a little bit of smoke coming out, just a little bit, and you might smell a little bit of a smell. It's not anything offensive, or I don't think anything you need to worry about, but you should always have ventilation anyway when you're working. But those are normal things. It's supposed to smoke. It's supposed to smell. It's just something in that paper, in the decal paper, that does that, okay? But you need to be sure that your enamel has actually adhered, fired on to your piece. So you might need to turn it just a little bit, which you have to be very careful so this does not come off or slide down your hand. But generally, when you are refiring something on a mandrel, there's a little bit of enamel that kind of adheres to your mandrel, and that helps hold that piece steady. So not always, that's why you have to be really careful, but you need to see that this front is perfectly shiny, and that's how you tell that it is adhered. It will look matte until it's fired properly. So you need to see that shine. You can also overfire. If you overfire, generally what happens is your image fades away. You would think that you would burn the piece, but it actually kind of disappears. And that's sometimes what happens when you use the wrong paper too. You might think that you're getting it on there, but then if you touch the decal afterwards, that ink from the decal just comes off in your hands. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. All right, so I'm going to move over again to the torch. Hopefully I won't knock this off. See if I can bring it in a little closer. Don't want to burn my phone. That would be bad. And always remember that this torch head stays really screaming hot for a long time. So don't be, that's one of the reasons you keep your dominant hand, keep your stuff on the right hand that you're going to use on the right side, keep your stuff on the left side, or vice versa if you're left-handed. So that way you're not reaching over this torch head at any time. That is not a good feeling. Burns are not a good feeling. So, all right. So I think, hopefully, you don't need to see me doing this. All right. I'm going to get reorganized here just a bit. I don't need any more enamel. There are schools of thought that you can re-dip this piece in a clear coat of enamel, but you really don't have to. It is fired on, and it's going to stay on as long as it's fired on properly. And also, the idea of putting a clear coat on, I mean, if you do it properly, I guess it's okay, but you can overfire it then and make it fade. So I just am going with the theory of leave well enough alone and just let this fire on and call it a day. All right, so if your piece wasn't totally dry, it will dry when you're keeping it way up here high in just the heat, you know, before you bring it down. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. It's going to be high up in the heat, and then gradually I'm coming down closer till I get into the flame. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I'm drying off my mandrel because I don't want to introduce any water to that decal. I'm going to put the decal or the enamel piece on and just kind of set it here for a minute while I light my torch. Lighting from the bottom. I put these pieces on my bench block to cool them off a little bit faster. Not when they're red hot, but after they've cooled a couple of minutes, then I put them on there. Now, as the enamel cools, the color will come out a little bit more on the decal. He's upside down. All right, well, I'm going to move back over. Okay. Okay. All right. So, bee came out real cute. They're nice and glossy, shiny, as they should be. Fired well. These would make a cute pendant or earrings. I've sold quite a few earrings like this. You know, just one on each side or whatever. Well, of course, one on each side, but sometimes I don't know why I say what I say. Or like the Home Sweet Home would be good on a keychain too. Although I've never put a piece of enamel on a keychain, but I'm thinking, why not? You know? Here's the thing with enamel. You can enamel this today and then decide you want to change something. Maybe not so much with decals, but you could go back a week, a month, a year later and reheat these things, of course, holding it high into the warmth of the flame, you know, before you introduce it to that really hot flame. And change something. You could add another color, or if your piece did form some cracks, you can reheal it. There's just a lot of stuff that you can do with enamels. So the little guy he's cool. He's cooked down there pretty good. That'll make a really cute pendant. So I think. Yeah, the bees are cute. There's different styles of bees. I really like this one a lot. But I really like this one that says Queen Bee on it too. I like that one a lot. Of course, it's backwards for you guys, but it says Queen Bee on it, which is kind of cute. And this is on the cream color disc, as were these other two. You know, so they look nice. So that's it. You know, if you have some other questions or ideas or concerns or whatever, you can let me know. I am going to, I realized when I was talking before about the decal paper, you know, I have a tutorial on Etsy that goes over painting and decal application. It's like 12 bucks on Etsy, and it's, I don't know, 4 pages or something with pictures and stuff. So, you know, if you're interested in that, you can get it. I do realize now that the decal paper reference that I put on that paper, they're no longer in business, but I did find another one, and I need to change the name on that. So for people who bought the tutorial from me, I will be sending them an email and letting them know the new resource. And I also have a little bit different method of applying the stuff on there too. So I'm going to pass that along as well. It is a PDF file, and I had a friend of mine make the PDF file because I don't do that. And I can't really change it on there, but I will send like an addendum, you know, of different things, any changes that are on there. But I'm thinking, you know, like I mentioned just a little while ago, if I do a class, it would cover all those different things. So I think I will research that out. And yeah, Sunny, anybody who got it, you know, I've got everybody's email address. I just have to get to it and change that. But yeah, you know, when companies go out of business and you've already prepared a tutorial and it's, I can't change the tutorial, although maybe my friend could do it. I don't know. I'll have to find out about that because, you know, I want you to stay updated on the resources. What good are resources if the people don't have the stuff anymore? So I will add, because I just realized I didn't put that one company that has the paper, the decal paper. Although this wasn't intended to make your own decals, this demo. so maybe it doesn't have to be on there. But anyway, I'll update those other ones. All right, Kim says, so okay, when in UPS, how do I get the proper printer? I will let you know. I will put that on the group page of the model, the make and model of my printer, and see, and I will also see on Amazon, because I got it on Amazon. I'll see if Amazon has anything comparable that they're selling. The only thing is I can't guarantee that any different model is going to do the same thing. All I can do is try to find out. That's all I can. I mean, there certainly has to be other comparable printers out there. There are some very expensive ones. I know that the one Barbara Lewis has, who did this painting with fire, who started this whole process, she had one, and I think she bought a refurbished one, and it was quite expensive. So, you know, I'm not willing to go that route, but I will try to find out whatever information I can find out about it, you know, and pass that along to you guys in the group. So, okay, so I guess I'll wrap this up for today, and I'm still on the fence if I'm going to be here next Wednesday or not. With the holidays, I may or may not. I know I've got something planned to do, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be available with my family. So my daughter's coming in from Florida, and I don't know what's happening yet. So I'll keep you guys posted. So until then, I'll see you guys in the group. Please keep posting the things that you're making, and hopefully we can carry on some conversations in there. I know that I did, I made that bowl last week. Let me get that for you. I made this dish during the week. This little bowl or dish, whatever you want to call it. And I decided that I went with a clear coat of acrylic spray on here, because the first bowl that I made, I enameled thinking that I was going to get a clear coat on there, and it was really yucky color. So then I added some other transparents to that and kind of salvaged it. But I was very disappointed because I like this look, and this is much larger than what we did in the tiny little dishes demo, but it's the same principle. So what I might do is in the group do some process pics of this rather than a demo, because the demo I already did, and it's basically the same thing. Let's see the other dish. Patty, you know, it's upstairs. It's in my living room. So I'll bring it down for the next demo. It's the same size. It's the same size. It's just different colors. But yeah, I decided I liked the shiny, and I've always liked copper, but I I like the old-fashioned feel of the hammered copper, and I just thought I would stay with the shiny on this one. I was a little torn, but I think I did okay. So, okay, so I'll put some process pics on the group page, and I guess that's it. So I'll keep any updates on the group page, and I'll let you know if there'll be a demo next week or not. Okay, and in the meantime, if you think that you might want to do an enameling class of sorts, let me know. I'd like to see what kind of feedback I get, and see if it's something I should pursue or not to present to you guys. Sunny, this was 22 gauge. This is 22 gauge. And I did it that way because it was easy to work with. I would have rather really had it be 20 gauge, but I didn't want to saw the circle. I wanted to cut it with my metal shears. I have a love-hate, well, I don't have a love relationship with my saw at all. I don't know how people do, but there are some people that just say, I love to saw. That's not me. So if I can cut it with shears, the 22 gauge wasn't bad at all to cut with shears. So that's what this is. Okay, I wouldn't go any thinner though. All right, so that's it, guys. Like I said, I've already said this like 5 times. I'll see you guys in the group and on Facebook. So take care. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll have the handout out for you very shortly. Okay, bye-bye.